Hello and welcome to The Real Bottom Line, the podcast for entrepreneurs featuring entrepreneurs. My guest today is the great Shannon Hernandez of the Joyful Business Revolution. Welcome, Shannon.
Oh my gosh, we're going to spread a lot of joy today.
Woo, woo. Yes, yes. Get ready for the sprinkling of joy to come down on you. Now, you did prompt me to ask you, why Shannon?
Yeah, it's a good question. So everyone can call me Shannon, but you will see it everywhere as M. Shannon Hernandez. I was a teacher for 15 years. And when I left to start a business and write my first book, I Googled Shannon Hernandez because I wanted to see what was coming up, right, with my name. And it was a whole bunch of women in orange jumpsuits in prison shots.
I see.
So I was like, I'm putting the M in front of my name. My parents named me Mary Shannon Hernandez, but they never called me by my first name.
Yeah.
So now I'm known everywhere as M. Shannon Hernandez.
And I'm seeing no orange on you at all today.
There is no orange on this spot.
Okay, so you were a teacher. I am always amazed at how many teachers have ended up starting businesses. What grade did you teach? What did you teach, and what made you shift into business?
I taught 8th grade in Spanish Harlem, New York City. They were the kids who, well, if anyone knows 8th graders, they're just nuts. Anyway, but at the levels of growing up way too fast in inner city New York, right? It had like super street knowledge. They taught me so much stuff. And I taught for 15 years.
Right.
And then I lost my joy, which is part of this story here, right? I lost my joy with teaching, but it wasn't the teaching, it was the system.
Right.
And we just have a very antiquated education system here in the US. And for 15 years, if they would have just let me close my door and teach, and I didn't have to worry about the politics and all the things that were coming down, who knows, maybe I'd still be a teacher. But I bring teaching to this business, and it's been one of the greatest things I've probably ever done is like take the teaching background and teach people how to create messaging and marketing that gets results in their business.
Well, when I think about teaching, and I think about, even in my case, in financial services, it's the hardest part sometimes is simplifying, demystifying, and taking out the lingo so that people actually understand what they're doing. So I think the teaching background is so key for that.
Yeah. And you hit on something really important. A lot of people who are struggling in business, right? It's because they're using the language they live in all day long, and they're not using the language of what their future clients are saying or even thinking about. And that happens because we're so close to our craft, and we're like,
treat.
I know, we hug it. It's like our little baby, but I always have to get people, okay, my job is to come in and listen to everything you're telling me, and then I just simplify it for the common person who's listening on the other side.
Yes.
Not a dumb person.
No.
Right? This is not about dumbing it down, but we always say, if they can't hear you, you can't help them, right? So we have to really work on simplifying and demystifying like the industry speak to get the right people.
And I think that's a very good point. It's like the clients are still very, very smart, but if you started to speak to them in, I don't know, French or Spanish, and they're English, they don't hear you. But I think we sometimes forget there's lingo that's so specific to our industries, and we are so comfortable in it. It's like we're talking another language and they don't hear.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And just speaking louder won't change that.
Nope. Publishing more content, yelling louder, dancing TikToks, none of it's going to change it.
Oh, yes, I am avoiding the dancing TikTok, Shannon, with all my being.
Me too. Me too.
So what I always like to ask, so how long have you been in business? And if you could share maybe one or two key lessons you've learned from growing your business.
Mm-hmm. So this year is going to be year 13. Business. I recently wrote an email. So those of you who don't know me or you're just getting familiar with me, I am the queen of email marketing. It is my jam. It keeps me off of social so I can do my art. I'm getting ready to leave for Bali. I just came back on a 5-city speaking tour, but my business continues to make money. How? Because email marketing, I believe, is that missing piece.
Hmm.
And so, one of my very first lessons that I would say, Wendy, is that I want everyone to embrace email marketing as the primary way to market your business,
Okay.
right? I'm not saying you have to leave social. I'm not saying any of that, right? You will
Listen,
find me on LinkedIn.
I think more people would relish the opportunity to leave social if they could.
Absolutely. And there is a place for social, right? But here's what we teach at Joyful Business Revolution: one platform that brings you so much joy. For me, that's LinkedIn,
Yep.
plus email marketing strategy that drives the revenue. That is like the perfect blend. Now, not all of our clients are like that. We work with artists, we work with cattle farmers, you name it. If they want email marketing to work for them, they are coming to us. But what is the one platform that brings them joy? Some of them it's Instagram, right? Some of it's YouTube. Some of them it's Substack. So we really work with where their love and their joy is in social, and then get the email list doing the rest of the heavy lift.
I love that. I've always been a monogamist, if I could, with my social platforms. Just like there's only so much attention I can have. And I feel like when I try and be everything on all the platforms, I just don't have the energy for that.
Yeah. Well, and I know another thing that we want to really hit on today, and I'd say this is part two, is the power of community.
Yes.
Like in person, local, or travel to build community. And so, one of the things that Wendy and I think, are super passionate about, and we were introduced to each other by a mutual friend, Anthea, who flew from Canada to New Jersey to come sit at what I host an event every month called a connection table, right? And it's a dinner with a theme for 8 people. It is magic. I've got wait lists for months for people to get into this dinner. And so, one of the things I want people to really explore early on, now, it's never too late. How can you treat your email list more as your email community? And then, how can you bring community into what you're doing in your business? Because I think now more than ever, people are really wanting to gather in person and be in community.
I really like that. And I feel that you're right. I think there is that hunger for it. And I think, like for myself, I found it a hard transition to go from, being at home by myself, doing my thing with my husband. And then now it's like, okay, it's time to get out into the real world. And it's like, ooh, I lost all those skills.
Absolutely. And COVID didn't help us either, right?
No, exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like 5 years didn't happen. Something like
Yeah,
that. Yeah, yeah. It's kind of
absolutely.
crazy. So, what made you decide to do these dinners? And I know you also do retreats. So, at the dinners, how long are they? What do you talk about?
Yeah, and I want to talk about the retreats too. So thanks for reminding me.
No problem.
So the dinners have morphed over the years. I've been running them for about, I'd say, 8 years. Of course, we had to take a break during COVID because everything was closed down. They originally started as, I called them, founders dinners, and I was living in Brooklyn, New York at the time. And because I was lonely, and because I'm an introvert, and because I hate loud ass networking events,
Yeah,
where it's in a bar, or somewhere that's loud, a restaurant or wherever, and people are screaming at each other. I was like, I cannot build my business this way.
yeah.
I said, okay, then I'm going to create the very thing that I wanted. And so early on, they were called founders dinners, and they were to bring founders of companies or nonprofits together just to share a meal and a lovely discussion. Over time, they morphed. They've been called mastermind dinners. Now they're being called connection table dinners. And they are really, we pick a theme. I pick a one-word theme for each dinner. There's 3 questions that guide us as the dinner goes along. And everyone gets the first question in advance. And I think that is the most super introvert thing I could ever do. Is people have said to me, Shannon, I was so nervous, but when I got the question and the topic in advance, I felt like I could walk into this dinner not knowing anyone and sit down and have this conversation. So that's a little bit about the connection table dinners. The most recent morphing, if you will, is I'm an author. I have authored 2 books to date, and I thought, gosh, I could really use this dinner to elevate the authors in my community. So I
Mm,
put an email out, email community, y'all, community building, and I said, hey, I host this dinner every month in New Jersey. It's a 3-hour dinner around a theme. If you're an author and you would like to either sit at the table with your book or ship your book to me, I will be happy to get your book into the hands of 8 people. And Wendy, I have stacks. I'm looking at them in my office for 15 months of topics and content. I
oh,
had to stop the submissions. I was
yeah,
like,
yeah,
yeah. But talk about people wanting to be part of something different,
yeah.
right?
Can you give me an example of a theme you chose in the first question?
Sure. So we have a dinner coming up in May. The theme is dance. Um, the featured author, her name is Jessica,
Yeah.
and she has written a book about the power of dance to transform your life.
Oh, okay.
Her story is really about this idea that she was a dancer all growing up in New York City. Um, she broke a leg, literally broke a leg, and wasn't sure she'd ever be able to dance again, and how she tiptoed back into dance
Okay.
by listening to her body and healing along the way. And so our opening question is, what do you need to dance more with in your life?
Ooh. Okay, I love that. I love that. Okay, so and you also do these retreats. Let's talk a little bit about them. How often do you have them? Who comes? What do you do?
Oh my gosh, these retreats make me cry.
Oh, do they? Oh gosh, that's awesome.
In a good
Tears of
way.
joy, right? Tears of joy?
And Wendy, I want you to be at one of these retreats. Oh my gosh.
I
Um,
will be.
you will be?
I
Yes.
definitely, yes. Your Mexico one coincides with the trip to the Rugby World Cup, so I cannot go.
Oh, okay. So we have a Mexico retreat coming up. We have destination mastermind retreats. The reason I started these retreats, to be honest, is because I want to mastermind with really brilliant people. And
Mhm.
when I was looking, everyone should be noticing a theme here. Anytime I can't find what I'm looking for, I just go build it. All right. It's like, be the vision you want to be in the world. I kept looking for retreats. Now, Wendy, if you've been around on the online world or you kind of know how the coaching industry works, these people want like $30,000 for a whole year
Yeah,
of masterminding, and then you might get a retreat. And I'm like, this is crazy, right? This is so crazy. I'm not paying $30,000 for coaching. I'm not paying $30,000 to get my name up with the big people and whoever's running the thing. All right. So I said, wow, what if I could reinvent what I wanted? And what I want is 6 nights in a beautiful destination
yeah.
with an experience that roots me into the local culture.
Mhm.
And I'm a foodie, so good food, good beverage. And in the process, bringing together 8 to 10 business owners in my community who are already brilliant at what they do. But I can't refer you, you can't refer me if we don't know how to do that,
Right.
right? And we don't know the language and we don't understand what you do. So at these retreats, everyone gets a session where they're teaching something to the group
Ooh,
about their expertise so it's memorable.
yeah,
So we can then refer you.
yeah.
And by the way, you've got the brilliant messaging and marketing strategist there who's saying, hey, I think you could say this differently this way, right?
Right.
So it's the best of like all the worlds, I think, of what I want to create in the world. So we have one in September coming up called Culinary Mexico. We're going to be in the mountains of Mexico at Chef Ana Garcia's home.
Ooh,
And we're going to be cooking in her kitchen, her outdoor kitchen. And then our next one is in May of 2026, and it's in Italy. And we're embracing the countryside of Tuscany with yoga and with masterminding. We're going to go to a pasta mill, and it's going to be super local and super fun.
that's awesome. And so it's kind of like you get it's a beautiful thing because you get to see more of a place you want to do and experience things, but you get to do it in a community of like-minded people.
Absolutely. And I do want to say we partner with very, very local locally owned for a lot of reasons. One, we want to support the local people of where we're going. We
Yeah.
believe in business and entrepreneurship. But also, it keeps our costs down. So we're able to have, in all our retreats, you get your own room, y'all. We're like 40 and 50 and up. We are not sharing rooms. We are not sleeping in bunk beds. Like, I am not doing any of that. All right. So, for example, Mexico is $5,500 for the entire week. All you have to do is get there.
Yeah.
Every meal, every experience, everything, all your lodging. And we try and keep it right around that price range, right? So Italy is much the same. So we're trying to make it really accessible and have a vacation. Plus, you can write it off like a tax write-off for your business.
It hits all the good stuff, man. It hits it all. That's amazing. So, I love those. We'll have to put some details in the show notes about those 2 retreats if people want to get some more information from you. But I'd like to talk a little bit about what are you seeing in messaging? What are you seeing the biggest mistakes that us entrepreneurs are making?
AI.
Ooh, tell me more.
Right? I didn't even have to.
Yeah, do you want to think about that for a second? Okay.
Oh my gosh. I just came off an event. I've been on a speaking tour, but part of the speaking tour was my own 3-day event where we brought people together in Miami to show them how to craft human stories that do a lot of things. All right. But at the end of the day, they secure more revenue, more opportunities for collaboration, right? When you nail a story, it is unforgettable to everyone, including yourself. So I think one of the biggest things I'm seeing is people saying, oh, I can put this idea in AI and I can roll this messaging out as it comes, with some tweaks, right? We all know if we see the word unlock now, if we see the word skyrocket, like we can spot it, y'all, from miles away, okay? So even if you're changing those little words, here's what AI cannot do for you. It cannot share human emotion.
Mm.
And so if you're going to use AI as a starting point, you need to go back in and you need to make sure the emotion and the story and the human thread is all the way through it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just blending in. There's nothing good happening with this content that I'm seeing.
Yeah. And so, okay, when you say use AI as a starting point, is that just like idea generation? Is it, what would you use AI for in your business?
Yeah. So in my business, and in the businesses we help people every month come up with their 4 email topics.
Okay.
We pick a theme. So let's say, what month are we in? March?
March still, but
We're in March. Okay. Let's say the theme for March is community. That's what we're talking about today. All right. So I would go to AI and I would say, and the power is in the prompts. And one of the reasons I know I can use AI with success is because I'm the messaging and marketing person who knows what to ask the thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right. But I might go to AI and I might say, okay, now this is a very long prompt, but I'll simplify it.
No problem.
I call my AI hi friend. So I always say hi friend, and the AI says, hi Shannon, welcome back. What can I help you with today? So I say, I am going to create a series of emails, 4 emails over the month of March. The big theme of the month is community, and I want to share how we're using the power of community to help people grow their business. Okay. I want to make sure that you tie in. We have a Mexico retreat coming up. If that date doesn't work, people can come to this retreat. I want to talk about email list as a community growth initiative, and I want to talk about my dinners. And then I will say, give me 10 topics I could use for this theme.
Yeah.
That is how I use AI.
Okay.
Right? So when it spits out a topic, one I probably never even thought of, honestly.
It is good for things like that. Oh, yeah. Yes.
Absolutely. I can, sit down and do the actual work of writing the messaging that I know is going to be human-centric, story-driven, propel people to take action. And what I need everyone to understand, if you're listening to this podcast, people buy with emotions. And so if your marketing doesn't make people feel something, you're going to have a really hard time selling, because all of us buy that purse we don't need, those new shoes that look really cute, those earrings in Bali we couldn't have. It's all emotionally driven.
Yeah.
Every purchase is emotionally driven.
So when you go back and then you're crafting your emails, do you kind of have a structure you follow? Is it tell the story, have a call to action? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what is
Yeah.
your structure?
So we teach a framework every month. It's like how to write your email in 4 steps.
Yep.
Okay. So the very first thing we do is we have people start backwards, because
Yeah.
everyone needs to be selling. You need to know why you're writing this email. So the first question is, what are you selling, or what are you promoting? What are you offering this month?
Yeah.
It could be a free thing. It could be a new lead magnet. It could be 10 consultations, whatever. But we have to know what the offer is,
Yeah.
right? Then we go into a past. So we have our theme for the month. We have our topic now. We go into a story from the past,
Yeah.
either yours or clients or whoever the story is from the past. And then we connect it with the connection piece, which is like what I learned from that experience.
Mm-hmm.
And then we teach you to say, and this is the result I had, or they had, or she had, or he had, right? And then we teach the transition, which is the hardest part, because don't get that transition right, it feels like bait and switch,
Yes.
right? So transition to the offer, and then a call to action.
Nice.
We are helping people revolutionize inbox income, is what we call it.
Well, that's amazing. Yeah, we all have had those emails where like, ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think because there's 2 levels there. You want to make sure you're not you want to provide value too, like something almost learning. Do you think that each email should have a real learning lesson in it
Yes.
as well?
Yeah, and we talk about that's that middle piece of like bridging the gap, is the lesson that you learned, or the top 3 things you want people to know.
Yeah.
And that is the value piece, right? And so a lot of people say, well, I don't know, like I feel bad when I write an email because I'm only writing when I'm going to sell something. I'm like, well, there's your first problem.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so we can fix that. But then how do you naturally flow from a story to a lesson to a call to action?
Yeah.
That's important, because the story gets the emotion, the lesson gets the logic, and if they're motivated, they click the link,
Do
right?
you think every email should have a call to action?
Every single email should have a call to action.
And
Even if your call to action is hit reply and answer this question,
okay.
right? Because, well, here's the thing. Let's go back to what we said. If you're going to treat your email list as an email community, wouldn't you want your community talking?
Right. Engaging.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm doing 4 emails a month. I've got my call to action. How many of them should be like a buy something from me?
If you want to do all 4, do it.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, it's the language around it to make it feel good.
Absolutely. Right? If you sent an email every day that was story, lesson, here's what I want you to do next, 1, your revenue would skyrocket. I'm just going to say that right now, if it was done right. Okay. But 2, you would start getting really natural, and you'd see how to do this, and you'd hear from your people more.
Yeah.
Okay? Because they'd be like, oh my gosh, that made so much sense. Like, thank you for sharing that. Right? I am not proposing an email day. My nervous system can't handle it in my inbox, and I'm certainly not going to write that many, but I'm just trying to make the point. If you do it well, you could have a call to action every day of the week in your
Do you
email.
find that there's an optimal rhythm, or is that everyone dependent?
I think it's dependent. I work with all types of people. My people who help moms send on Saturday mornings,
Okay.
because moms are busy during the whole week, and finally on Saturday they're sitting down and having their coffee, right? I send on Monday and Thursday, because I don't work Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. And so we really try and model like you can build your email around your values, right?
Yes.
So yeah.
Well, that's interesting. I love it. And so if someone replies, obviously, then you start a conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah. I sent an email this past week. Now, I was out in Denver speaking, So the email was written in advance, right? It was loaded in and off it went. We had like 35 responses, and my VA is like, Shannon, this email worked really well, and I need you to log in when you get a chance and start responding.
Right.
And that email actually was a chat GPT generated idea. And
Yep.
the email was about the year that I ditched 80% of my to-do list and focused on 20% that generated revenue was the year we hit nearly $1 million.
Nice.
Right? And so I told a story around it, right? I told a story of what it looked like before when I just kept adding to my to-do list, and like every day I felt bad because the list
Yeah.
was getting longer. We can all relate to that, right?
Yes.
And then I said, here's what I learned. It was scary because I had to do less to actually like get these results that I've been wanting in my
And we've
business.
been programmed that more means more instead of less means more.
Absolutely. And I talked about that, right? So anyway, it was an email that hit home really hard.
Yeah.
That email, the call to action was hit reply if you know there's something on your to-do list that you need to cross off today. Right? It wasn't just hit reply and tell me, like people don't do generic things. So back to messaging. When you get super specific with your messaging, people can hear you because you're not talking to like these broad paint strokes, right?
Yeah. Well, you're firing me up, Shannon. Oh my gosh, I got so many ideas now. Thank you for that. Okay, what haven't I asked you that an entrepreneur may need to hear from you today?
This is what I wish more people would ask me.
Okay.
If you wanted to fast track your business success, either you're starting or you hit a plateau, which happens, y'all, and we're going to normalize that here. That's freaking normal. All right. Or you've got a new idea and you're pivoting. The number one thing you should, and I use that word lightly, be investing in is messaging.
Yeah.
Because marketing, messaging is like what I call, a lot of people are like, oh, it's the boring work. Well, first of all, come work with us. It's not boring. Secondly,
Joyful.
yes, it's joyful. And secondly, the quote unquote boring work of messaging, your marketing will not work, your sales will not work, your website will not work, your LinkedIn profile will not work, your emails will not work if your messaging isn't landing.
Yeah.
I wish someone would have told me this years ago, because I spent the first 4 years doing all the flashy, fun stuff.
Right.
Guess what? It didn't matter.
No.
When I finally was like, I think I have a messaging problem, and then I fell in love with messaging and learned how to teach it really well, right? That's when everything changed for my business, and that's what happens when people come in and work with us, because we can't keep talking in the industry speak and in broad paint strokes.
Yeah, the broad, like it's almost like we're just like a scatter and pray versus being real specific. I think with the right messaging work too, it then can focus your messaging. Like, because now you're not talking about everything. You have some specific tenets that you're kind of following, which I think that's actually the work you put in up front there is going to save you a ton of time down the road.
Absolutely. We need to build you a messaging playbook.
Ooh, I like it.
Yes.
Well, I want to thank you for your time, Shannon. This has been such a delightful conversation. And I think the real bottom line here is messaging matters, emails matter, community matters.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much. And we'll put how to contact you in the notes. However, if you just want to do a shout out for your LinkedIn profile or some way that people can engage with you, please do so.
Yeah, absolutely. So 2 things top of mind. Please come connect with me on LinkedIn. By the way, when you send that connection request, send a message with it. All right, that's the kind thing to do. Kind messaging is clear messaging. And then also, I have a beautiful resource for anyone that wants to grab it. It's called 65 Story Ideas for Better Email Marketing. And you can grab it at joyfulbusinessrevolution.com/65, the number 65 story ideas.
Awesome. What a great gift. Thank you. All right, Shannon. So great to talk to you. Take care.
Thank you so much.